Are you in the market for a storage building or a tiny home? Maybe even a man cave or she shed? Well, I'm your guy. I'm Ethan with Shivers Buildings, and we supply the highest quality storage buildings and tiny homes on the market, all while providing the best customer service in the industry. Visit us today at shiversbuildings.com to view our live inventory or even design your dream shed in 3D. Once again, that's shiversbuildings.com, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Speaking of pittance, which I plow all the way back into the company, she and I do investigations of all sorts of interesting things that I believe would impact lots of the technologies that we might be interested in.
I love it. I love it. Why go down this? I mean, Bob, you're a lifetime scientist. You're a lifetime about trying to find answers. Why take this to the next level so late in your career?
Well, I can. So yeah, it's at no risk to me. I earned a really good salary all the years I did technical work for the government and then at Virginia Tech. So when I retired, I had a very healthy retirement plan. But along the way, I decided I wanted to be able to do lots of stuff after I retired, not just live. So I founded two companies. One of them is Hawkeye 360, which now has several satellites in orbit, and in the coming year will fire up 15 new satellites on the first 5 launches of Rocket Labs, which is a New Zealand company, but is now going to launch in the United States. So the next 15 satellites they launch will be Hawkeye 360s, and they will go up from Wallops in Virginia. So they'll be fired of the U.S., so that makes them safe to use for government work. All right, so that's one. And number 2, Federated Wireless is a telecommunications company. We developed technology that allowed cell phones and other wireless devices using 4G and 5G to interoperate with government systems. And the way that works is it's simple. It was amazing to me that nobody had figured out how simple it was. So I just went ahead and figured it out and patented it. So if I hear a government transmitter, I turn my cell tower off. It's literally that simple. If you hear the government, you shut up. If the government's gone long enough, you turn your cell tower back on and you serve your customers. And that completely satisfied both the Federal Communications Commission and NTIA, which governs U.S. government frequencies. So it's just one of those things, and both of those companies have done well. Just let me give one example, and I'll shut up about that. The National Reconnaissance Office gave Hawkeye 360 a $500 million contract in the last year.
Nice. That's profitable. That's very profitable. All right, my friend, let us move on here because there was some very interesting news in space. And for our listeners who don't know you that well, you have your autograph on about 20 different satellites that you can talk about up in space. And now we have James Webb. At first pictures of James Webb satellite that looks deep, deep, deep into space, more deep than we've ever seen before. And Bob, this is godly. It really is godly that what we are seeing and in infrared and in real time. I'm not as much of a space nut as you are, but I could tell you this, my friend, those photos were beautiful.
Yep. They're amazing. And so everyone is familiar with Albert Einstein, and they know that he figured out that space-time is governed by the general theory of relativity. And so the general theory of relativity, when he first formulated it, he tried to make the universe fixed and stable, neither expanding nor contracting. And he quickly figured out, with astronomers observing the universe, that all the galaxies that are far away from us are flying away from us really fast. And then later on, we made a ton of measurements, and we found out that the farthest galaxies are moving away from us faster than the speed of light. So the light they emit will never reach the Earth. So because they're moving faster than the speed of light, the photons will never get here. Okay, so the universe is expanding, and not only is it expanding, it's increasing its rate of expansion. We do not understand how all that works, but anyway, we got to do how to understand this, and we apply it to astronomy. And so, what we know is that there are stars and galaxies that we know the characteristics of, and because when things run away from you, it's like the train going by you. When the train comes at you, it goes, when the train goes away from you, it goes, and that's called Doppler. The same thing happens to galaxies. So we can see light coming from these galaxies, and we recognize patterns in the light that are made by elements that are abundant in those galaxies: hydrogen, helium, iron, lead, those kinds of things. And it's easily seen. But what happens is the lines and things that are inside that light, they move to a lower frequency, and that lower frequency tells you by Doppler measurements how fast these galaxies are moving away from you. And so we see that these galaxies that are farthest away are moving away faster than those that are near us. So that means the universe expansion is accelerating. So James Webb looks at infrared. Now, what did I just tell you? Things that are far away are shifted down to the red because of Doppler. So that means things that are visible, light, if they are close to us and not moving away fast, will be invisible if they're out near the edge of the universe and they're redshifted. So we built a telescope that has a redshifted eyeball and uses infrared for the redshifted eyeball, and it can see the galaxies that our eye cannot see because our eyes are not sensitive to infrared. So it can see the things that are all the way out there. So what they do is they take a picture, and then they take the speeds they see of the objects and they move them back to their regular colors. And that's what made these fantastic pictures that we have seen. And they show some spectacular things. The first one they released has a feature in it which looks like a bubble. What this actually is gravitational lensing that Einstein predicted. He didn't believe it would ever happen, but he was wrong. He predicted it, and we found it. And this thing lenses light that goes by through the curvature of space-time caused by a massive gravitational object on its path. Okay, so the thing looks like a bubble, and it's bending light. And at the edges of the bubble, the light that it has bent magnifies because it's focused at us. So the things that are far away are now magnified, and they look closer to us than they actually are. And we see things that are really far away on the edge of those gravitational lenses. And we see them way out there. And if they're way out there, what does that mean? They are old. The farther out they are, the older they are. And so we have now seen in that picture from the James Webb Telescope, things along the edge of that bubble in that picture that are the oldest things we have ever observed in an image.
It really is incredible. It really is. And Bob, I'm sorry, my voice is a little hoarse tonight.
That's okay. We're good.
For you, okay, or let me start it this way. For us laymen who will never get a chance to really play that deep in space or learn about astronomy or astrophysics or whatever it may be, how important is the James Webb satellite and this nuance of these photographs?
Okay, so it's 35% of the universe is invisible if we don't have James Webb, because it combines two things. It's very large and has a very large mirror, and therefore very large light gathering power. And it's not like normal mirrors where you get this silver surface which reflects your image like the mirror in your bathroom. It has these beryllium, goldish looking mirrors that do a really good job of reflecting the infrared. So that's how they made an infrared telescope. And the sensors they put on it, the cameras and other things, they are also sensitive to the infrared that those big mirrors focus on them. And so that's how they see the things that are very, 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 very far away that we have never been able to see before.
Out of those millions upon millions of galaxies that are surrounding us, it comes down to this for our crowd: life in space. I mean, looking at those photos and seeing all of those different galaxies, Bob, I caught myself wondering whether or not there's another Dave running around there, with his family, and almost like a doppelganger worlds to what we are seeing here.
Okay, so let me go over the kind of, it's really pretty easy math, but let me go over it. So we'll go over it slow, but we're going to do tiny, easy math. We're going to go over it slow, and it should be easy for people to figure out. So we see in all of our telescopes and that are in orbit and or the ground billions and billions and billions of galaxies. So in those billions and billions and billions of galaxies, there are trillion stars, or between 100 billion and a trillion stars in every one of those galaxies. So let's call it 500 billion stars in every galaxy on average. And so we've got billions of galaxies, and each of them have 500 billion stars in them. So let's suppose that 3 out of every trillion stars has an intelligent civilization around it. So every trillion stars, 3 of them have an intelligent civilization. So we just showed, because of the arithmetic I did, that half the galaxies have 3 stars in them, because 500 billion stars in every galaxy. There's 1.5 intelligent civilizations in every galaxy, and there's billions and billions of galaxies. So now there's billions and billions and billions of intelligent species in these galaxies. And so where are they? Well, through regular space-time, they are very, 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 very far away. And so it's just a big deal that we know that now that we have all these galaxies, we know that a bunch of them have life around them, have life on them. Now, how do we know that all these stars have planets around them? I mean, that's a big deal. So that's called Stephan's quintet. There's 5 galaxies there, and that is just that is the most gorgeous picture I have ever seen of this particular galaxy, and I've taken one with my own telescope. And Dave, if you don't mind, I'd like to say hello to Lala, my friend, who is the psychic that I'm working with to try to figure out stuff about the galaxy and the universe and how things work. And it's good to see her here. Okay, so Stephan's quintet. I've never seen this picture this good. And I have a picture like this from my own telescope, and it's not even close. So you see the big things. Those 5 galaxies that are interacting gravitationally and distorting each other. But here is the thing you need to have pointed out. Every other thing you see in this picture, every other thing, is not a star, except for 1 or 2. And the 1 or 2 stars have those 6 spikes around them. So I see 3 stars quickly, 4 or 5 that have those big spikes around. Those are stars. Every other dot you see is a galaxy. And this picture is about the size of a grain of sand held out at 100 yards.
Wow. So for our radio audience who can't see this photo, in the background, there's literally little specks of light, each one of those specks being its own galaxy. And then they zoomed in on what they called Stephan's quintet. And, this is, honestly, it looks like a bunch of swirls with fire coming off of them. The one looks like, Bob, am I correct? Would that be like two suns in there?
No. That's actually two cores of two galaxies that are interacting with each other. Those are two cores of two galaxies. So there's at the top, there's one. Down below, there's two more. That's three. Down at the bottom, there's four. And that thing that looks like a pancake with a bunch of snowflakes or syrup on it is the fifth one. That is why it's Stefan's quintet. It's 5 galaxies that are gravitationally interacting. So all those humps that look like marshmallows, those are the center of the galaxies. And almost every one of those galaxy centers has in it a super massive black hole. It has more mass in it than millions of suns. And they are the engine that drives those galaxies.
Science Bob and friends going on. We're talking about the James Webb Telescope here. And Bob, we only got about a minute or so to go before we have to go to break at the bottom of the hour. I guess, you know what, Bob? Today it really doesn't matter because, yeah, it does actually. If Odyssey Radio is able to re-pick up our signal. So we'll just keep it at where we need to go here for tonight. We're going to continue talking with Science Bob about the James Webb satellite here until the bottom of the hour. And sorry, my voice is still a little hoarse from a long weekend out of town at MUFON Symposium. And then in Las Vegas, no, it was not on stage singing away. That I leave that for Bob and Filth in Vegas. What about the Carina Nebula here, Bob? We've got about a minute to go.
Sure. The Carina Nebula is it is the result of a star that blew up. So at the end of a star's life, it no longer has the hydrogen to do thermonuclear fusion. And the thermonuclear fusion is what keeps a star bright and keeps it from collapsing. So the light forces the matter to stay up, and the gravity holds the matter down. And so this tension exists, and the tension causes pressure, and the pressure fuses hydrogen. So thermonuclear weapons are at the center of every star. All right. So when a star runs out of fuel, it collapses all of a sudden and really quickly, and it is really massive. And it explodes like you can't believe, and it blows crap everywhere. So a lot of that stuff is still hydrogen. Even though it's burned up so much it can't really hold itself up, a lot of it's still hydrogen. So when it blows up, that hydrogen gas goes out, and all the other stars that are nearby illuminate that stuff and make it red.
More on the James Webb Telescope. Is it going to be able to find life out there in other galaxies? We'll find out with Science Bob and friends when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. All right, we are clear. Once again, sorry for the tech issues right off the bat here, guys. And my throat. Sorry about that. Let's just put this in the back for right now. Hi, Science Bob. Can you hear me, Science Bob?
I hear you just fine.
Okay. Troy SR71, how you doing? You may want to change that to Troy SR75. Just a little hint there. Troy SR75. Hi, Dirty Filth. You're looking rather nasty tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I was not in Portland, Oregon, Joe Monk. Body Tech, good morning to you. Hello, Bobbert. Yes, Troy. SR75. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Sandra. I did not eat breakfast for dinner once on the trip. Evan. I did not. In fact, I actually checked the clocks at one point and realized that it was too late to have breakfast, and I switched over to a burger for lunch. I was wanting breakfast bad, but couldn't do it. Corbanian, how are you? Holly, Tim and I are going to talk about that later. But I will say this, everyone, ladies and gentlemen. What I found out this weekend about Area 51 was pretty intensive. And I am now thoroughly convinced, thank you to my source, that there are no longer aliens at Area 51 or craft. And there hasn't been for a while. So that's what I will say for right now. And I will give the reasoning why a little bit later. And
Are you in the market for a storage building or a tiny home? Maybe even a man cave or she shed? Well, I'm your guy. I'm Ethan with Shivers Buildings, and we supply the highest quality storage buildings and tiny homes on the market, all while providing the best customer service in the industry. Visit us today at shiversbuildings.com to view our live inventory or even design your dream shed in 3D. Once again, that's shiversbuildings.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
If you organize events, meet your new ticketing buddy. TicketBud is an event ticketing platform that's user-friendly for first-time organizers, while powerful and flexible for large events. TicketBud makes ticketing easy. It's free to sign up and instantly access all features and customer support. TicketBud's low flat fee only applies to ticket sales and can be built into the ticket price paid by attendees. Access a special ticketing offer today at ticketbud.com/Spotify.
And go from there. Joe, you could ask Tim later about my watches. Bob Seed, part of my watch collection. I'm always wearing a different watch. Hi, Bill WD40 over at Spreaker. You're looking gorgeous tonight. Thank you for joining us. The only thing I really learned coming out of the whole MUFON conference is that Dave needs to diet real bad. Dave needs to diet. Yes. All right. Bob, I'm just going to go cleanse the old nostrils here. I'll be right back.
No, I'll be here. So I'll be talking to the people in the chat room. Hey, Chill Farm, Brisbane. Are there explanations for flashes in the sky the size less than 5? Well, usually there are all sorts of things that can happen. You can have spacecraft that blow up, satellites that launch, and they leave behind gases. And when the gases are way up high, the sun illuminates them and makes them glow. So that's one explanation. That's as good a one as I can give in short order. Charles, I own Starlink RV. And I have it attached to my travel camper, and I will be traveling with it on Friday. So I love Starlink. It's 100 megabits per second, no matter where I go. Now, in the southern part of the United States, Starlink is a little less effective than it is the northern part of the United States and Canada. So, but never mind. Every month, more satellites go up and the coverage gets better. So even when I have it half the sky obstructed by trees and I'm not in the optimal location, as I test my system before I go, it loses the internet for less than 5 seconds in every 10 minutes. So, I mean, and it's 100 megabits per second. I mean, how can I go wrong?
Bob, I'm going to get I'm going to give you, if you could type into the chat room your call sign on ham, that'd be great. Hi, gorgeous Dizzy Me. Hi, lovely Rafaela. Thank you so much to Ben, D. Cohen, Bob, and Lala for the amazing super chats. We try and put a lot of value into this show. If you think we got value, hey, the super chat is a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis, so we really appreciate it. Here we go. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with Science Bob and Friends. Dr. Bob McGuire is here to hang out, give us the who, what, where, when, why of the James Webb Telescope that is showing us some of the most beautiful images from space that we have ever seen. Dr. Bob, welcome back.
Happy to be here, Dave, and I'm very excited about James Webb. These first handful of photographs, they're unbelievable.
All right, let's go to the southern ring here. I mean,
okay. So
what are we
again,
looking at here?
when stars get old, they run out of gas, and unfortunately, when they run out of gas, they fall in on themselves and mash everything into a very tight space. And then when they do that, the remaining hydrogen and other elements that can fuse and into a thermonuclear reaction, they fuse as the stuff crushes. And this massive amount of stuff fusing all at once causes a massive explosion called a supernova. And this supernova explodes quickly, gets extremely bright. Sometimes it outshines the galaxy it is in. So in the southern hemisphere, there is this object. It was a big star. It collapsed and had a supernova. And when the supernova boomed, it blew all of that gas that didn't fuse out into space around these little now neutron stars that you see at the center of these objects. And so that's the collapsed star in the middle, and it's the gas on the outside, and ultraviolet radiation and other radiation coming from that star causes the electrons to be stripped off the atoms that's in those gases. And quantum mechanics tells us that that gas being stripped off and falling back, the electrons being stripped off and falling back in, releases photons. That's what causes that gas to glow. When that gas glows, it's the electrons being stripped off or added back, and it emits light that in the colors you see. So the red is hydrogen, the green is probably oxygen, and so on. So that's how we know what these things are made of. And a lot of those elements didn't exist before the supernova. So when the supernova fuses, small atoms become big atoms because they fused. And so that's how the heavier elements are made. Neutron stars and supernova, neutron stars that collapse into each other, and supernova make heavier elements out of lighter ones.
Okay, for those of us who aren't familiar with that, when a star explodes or runs out of gas, what happens?
Okay, it's a ball, and all of a sudden, which is, over 1 million years, but all of a sudden it runs out of gas. It begins to contract because it's no longer able to put out the light that was holding all that stuff up. So as it collapses, it squeezes and squeezes and squeezes and squeezes till it almost breaks my fingers, but it doesn't break the fingers. They light on fire and blow up. And when they blow up, boom, all of that stuff goes out, and that's that ball of gas you see.
Okay, does the entire galaxy blow up, or is it just
a
star?
just that star.
So then everything around it becomes dark and cold.
Yeah, so everything around it is dark and cold unless there's a star near it, and they're out of luck.
Not a very, very popular thing you want to happen.
Negative.
Oh my. That's just not fun, Bobbert. Not fun at all.
You are correct. You are correct. It is not.
So basically what you're saying is in 5 to 10 billion years, when our star decides to go boom, we're in for a real collapse of
Well,
society.
well. Unfortunately, for that narrative, it won't quite work. Our star is a little pipsqueak. It's a little tiny, bit of a nothing of a star. And so when it runs out of fuel, it's just going to shrink and go dark and never be seen again. It's not big enough to explode.
Well, that sucks. So we get ripped off. We get ripped
Yes,
off.
exactly. We don't even get a big send-off at the end. We just whimper and die and turn dark.
So how big would these stars be then?
Oh, there's the star in the center there?
Yeah.
So it's like something that's 20, 30, 40 times as big as our sun, squeezed down to the size of New York City.
And then popping like a zit.
It's popping like a zit as the
Wow.
pimple is squeezed.
Oh, my.
And you need to go to your pimple popping YouTube channel and see how supernovas work.
That's exactly what you need to do. That's exactly what you need to do. And I don't know. I really don't know. That's actually kind of eerie to think about. I know it's exciting for brains like yourself, but for the rest of us, that's kind of eerie to think about. Let's go to WASP 96b. What the hell is this graph here on the NASA website?
So as I told you, a star puts out light. And the only way we have to figure out what the heck the star is made of is from that light. So as the light emits, and you got to remember, I told you in the last object how the light is made. The electrons that are on the atoms, they are torn off and then fall back on. So when they're torn off, they absorb light. When they fall back on, they emit light. So you can tell from the pattern in the light what elements are in the star. So this graph is telling you the pattern of life in that star, Wolf 95. Now, WASP 95. Now, the issue with this star is that graph is really weird. So it's still a graph of the photons that tells us what it's made of, but it's really, really weird. And what it means is WASP 95 is really, really, really massive. And it is really, really, really gonna blow a zit that's as big as my head with more stuff in it than a volcano. I mean, it's gonna pop and it's gonna blow and it's gonna be awful. But it'll be awesome at the same time.
Yes, because zit popping is such a beautiful thing.
Exactly.
Right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Dr. Bob McGuire here. Let's go to Smacks 0723. This was the first photograph.
This was the bubble. This was the bubble. Okay, so you'll see that big star, and use that big star with the six ring. That's a star. But if you'll note below it, you'll see that some of those things, they're looking like streaks. And if you look around, you'll see all those streaks kind of form a bubble around the center, which we don't know what it is. All we know is it's really massive. So it's probably a supermassive black hole or a bunch of galaxies that we can't really see. But those things that are curved and bent and forming around, which look like on the surface of a bubble, they are really far away, because that really, really far away light, when it hits that bubble, it's focused down and aimed at us. Now, we just got lucky that it was aimed at us, but it's still aimed at us. And so the focus, remember how a telescope works, it has two lenses that bring the light to your pupil, and you see things that are farther away and magnified because the lens has focused it. That's what's happening here. Those really, really far away galaxies are being focused by a massive object, and we see those really far away things. And in those things that are curved around that center is the farthest away, oldest galaxy we have ever seen from Earth.
So basically, we can name one.
Oh yeah!
Like I want to
pick a name. Pick a name. Pick one and call it Dave. Call it Dave.
See this one right here?
Yeah, let's call it Dave.
That's Dave.
Yeah,
That's Dave.
let's call it Dave. That's Dave.
Yeah. No.
And you will have absolutely no contention, because remember, there's trillions of galaxies with 500 billion stars, and that's a lot of stars and a lot of galaxies. So you can pick one and name it you, and nobody's going to fight you because there's plenty for everybody.
Well, that's nice. That's nice. Yeah, I like this guy. Now, where the hell is he? Right here. Yeah, that's him right there.
That's good. That's
right
Dave.
There. That's Dave right there. Bob, I'm going to ask you a real stupid question here. And I don't mean it to be, but it's my own ignorance when it comes to outer space. I see all these galaxies out here. And I guess I had this image in my head since I was a kid that every galaxy was kind of like a subdivision. So once you left our galaxy, there'd be another galaxy you enter to. And then when you left that one, you would go into another galaxy that you enter to. Kind of like subdivisions connected. And yet, when I see photos like this, there's literally trillions upon trillions of light years in between.
Yep.
What is that in between?
So that's very, very interesting question. So in most of, hey, Heidi Lee, how you doing? So in most of the, we saw her in Las Vegas.
Yeah, she's amazing. Fantastic
she's
hair.
Very, very, very talented.
Never realized she's like 6'8" though.
Oh yeah. She's very talented, and she can do a tarot reading that will make your eyelids curl back. Okay, so anyway, these galaxies, they are they have quote empty space between them, but the space is not really empty. It can have a fair amount of hydrogen gas in it and other particles, but if you go to a place where there's almost no galaxies for billions and billions and billions of light years, what's there? Well, we learned in the latter part of the 20th century that quantum mechanics tells us that in that empty space, hey, it ain't really empty. So Heisenberg's uncertainty principle forces us to conclude that in any volume of space that you think is empty, particles come into existence at random. You can't predict where they're going to come into existence. You can't predict where they're going to leave from existence, but they come in and out of existence all the time in even a place that you think is empty. And that's the way it is.
So it's nothing.
No, there is no place that's empty. That's what I'm saying.
So it's there, but it's not there.
It's there but you can't really do anything with it because it comes and goes so quickly in a blink of an eye.
Oh my.
Oh yes, that's what quantum mechanics tells us, and we have tested it, and it is right.
This one hurts, Bob. Not gonna lie.
It's bad. It hurts.
This one very much hurts the old noggin here. I'm not gonna lie, and it sounds
okay. So
like
let me add quickly, Dave. Let me add quickly, but while you're clearing your throat, let me add quickly that space I told you where things pop in and out of existence at random. The reason it does that is that at the lowest energy level is not zero. The lowest energy level is above zero. And so that above zero energy that causes the particles to come in and out of existence, that is the 0 point energy that everybody would like to learn how to do work with.
Okay. I just, honestly, Bob, I'm trying really hard to understand. I'm just not grasping it. The whole quantum mechanics thing.
It's crazy.
I'm surprised I can even say quantum mechanics, to be blunt.
Oh yeah, so I guess since I was a scientific toddler, I've been doing quantum mechanics, so it's kind of gotten easier.
Well,
easier.
You know what though? Because I can pronounce quantum mechanics, I guess that makes me a scientist in the UFO field, since everybody just
There you go.
self-titles
Oh yeah,
themselves
well I mean
anyways.
everything's quantum in the UFO and woo field.
Yeah. I am quantum woo-canics. Quantum woo-canics.
So look, I mean Dolores Cannon and a bunch of people, they did this quantum hypnosis healing techniques, and I don't care what they call it. Those capabilities are really spectacular. And the reason they call it quantum is because it seems to interact at faster than the speed of light at great distances. And so this sounds like things are entangled. And so when you have entanglement, the underlying hypothesis is there's some way of communicating back and forth between things that are great distances with this entanglement. That's the reason it's called quantum.
All right. So, Bob, just hypothetically speaking, because I know we don't know, inside each one of these little galaxies, how many planets would there be?
Okay, so you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
Okay,
it's
happy
awesome.
to be wrong.
Oh, it's awesome. Okay, so we began sending up telescopes into space, and their only job was to take a look at random stars for a while. And around random stars, they would see on occasion the light from that star dim just a little bit. So the star would dim just a little bit. And the amount of dimming would depend on several things. So it could dim quite a bit, or it could dim a tiny bit, and it could dim for half a day, it could dim for a day, it could dim for a week, it could dim for a longer. What does all that dimming tell us? It tells us that here is a star and something is going around it. That something that's going around it, when it gets between us and the star, the light dims because it's an eclipse. It's eclipsing part of the light. And so that little thing that's eclipsing that light is a planet. And from the speed it goes across the star and our ability to figure out how big the star is, how massive it is, and so forth, we can figure out the size of the planet, the mass of the planet, and because if it has the atmosphere, the light going through the planet has those traces that I told you earlier that lets us know what gases are in these dadgum planets. Okay, so at my telescope at home, I have cameras on it, and the computer runs my telescope.
Are you in the market for a storage building or a tiny home? Maybe even a man cave or she shed? Well, I'm your guy. I'm Ethan with Shivers Buildings, and we supply the highest quality storage buildings and tiny homes on the market, all while providing the best customer service in the industry. Visit us today at shiversbuildings.com to view our live inventory or even design your dream shed in 3D. Once again, that's shiversbuildings.com, and we look forward to hearing from you.
If you organize events, meet your new ticketing buddy. TicketBud is an event ticketing platform that's user-friendly for first-time organizers while powerful and flexible for large events. TicketBud makes ticketing easy. It's free to sign up and instantly access all features and customer support. TicketBud's low flat fee only applies to ticket sales and can be built into the ticket price paid by attendees. Access a special ticketing offer today at ticketbud.com/Spotify.
And every now and again, one of these space-based telescopes says, hey, I think this might be a planet around the star. And so those of us who are amateurs but trying to do it seriously, we take our home telescopes, we point them at that star, and we measure the light. And if we see the light of that star dim with our fancy telescopes, we take that data and we send it to Harvard and other places. And what happens then, or the American Association of Variable Star Observers and or Harvard, both of them are in Cambridge. Anyway, so that the dimming of that star, confirmed by me and a bunch of other people with their own telescopes, confirms the existence of a planet around another star. So what do we find, Dave? What do we find? Every single star in the universe has 1.5 planets around it.
At minimum.
minimum 1.5 planets on average. On average. So
Right.
that means some have 1, some have 2, some have 10, some have 0. But on average, every star has 1.5 planets. I mean, Dave, there's trillions and trillions and trillions of stars, and all of them have planets.
How many of them do we know of right now have planets within the Goldilocks zone?
Okay, so how many are in the orbit that's close enough to their star without getting too close and without getting too far away so that liquid water will exist on the surface of that planet? We have this kind of bias because we are a liquid water planet that you need liquid water to have life. But a fair number of them are in the Goldilocks zone. Now, the issue we have is the planets that are easy to find are the huge ones like Jupiter and Saturn. The ones that are hard to find are the tiny little planets that are rocky like the Earth or Mars or Venus or Mercury. Okay, so, but we still find them. And given what we know about probability and how all of that works, we know that a goodly 1 out of 10 of those stars will have a rocky planet that's near enough to the Goldilocks zone that we believe it might be life. Now, I want to remind people that we have beliefs about life in our own solar system that we are going to begin to test. We believe there's life in the undersurface oceans on Titan, Europa, Enceladus, etc., inside our own solar system. But I want you to understand the implication, Dave. What is the implication if we go to the moons of Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune and other places in our solar system, and at each and every one of these things where they have a salty ocean with those volcanic vents building life like we have at the bottom of our oceans, what if all of those oceans have life in them? Dave, what does that mean about every freaking star in the universe? Every single one of them will have life around them. Dave, it will mean that the universe was tuned by the universal consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it, to make the universe suitable for life.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
It's huge, Dave. The implications, if you understand all this, are awe-inspiring. And so I believe that a lot of the psychic people and the people who are spirit workers and light workers and so forth that reach out and find the universal consciousness, all of this life all over the universe is, I believe, generating a consciousness field, and that universal consciousness is everywhere.
I feel like my mind is exploding right now.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I don't even know
and
how
I
to
am
take that.
I'm definitely exploring that possibility that the universal consciousness is there and it can be contacted. And I'm looking to build proof.
I don't even know where to go with this, Science Bob. I really don't, as we got about a minute to go. I know we have a bunch of questions lined up in our audience for you coming up the next half hour. But, I mean, to think that there's trillions upon trillions of potential life on planets that are out there in the universe, it is incredible. And, you know, it just goes to show the naivety that the majority of us have when we look at the stars and say, oh, look at the pretty twinkling lights, when realistically we could be looking at life elsewhere.
Yep. Totally agree. I mean, I believe every single solar system in the known universe has life around it.
Science Bob, this is why you are the best. And we got you for another hour here on Spaced Out Radio. When we return with Science Bob and friends, we're going to go and we're going to continue on with Life Out in the Stars. We're going to take some of your questions. And we may even hit a little bit on MUFON or Area 51. Science Bob and friends continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Hi, Science Bob.
Hey, Dave Scott.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm telling you, as you can tell, I'm fired up, and this is my forte. I've been doing this crap for decades.
Oh, I hear you, my friend. I hear you. We're going to turn this over to Dirty Filth, and the main reason why we are is there's somebody on YouTube who is not a fan of Filth's, doesn't like him coming on. So out of my love of Dirty Filth, we're going to put the full camera on Filth right now and watch him draw the Casablanca entities.
Absolutely, and anybody in the room that doesn't like Filth, you know how to hit the X button.
That is exactly right. He's our man, our myth, and our legend, the Dirtith Filthith.
Exactly. Maximus.
Right on.
Dirtith Filthith Maximus.
Apparently, I've got a fan. Excellent.
Thank you, Dank, for that super chat. Appreciate it. Bob, I'll be right back.
All right, pal.
So this is the Casablanca entities. I got 3 drawings of the whole situation so far going on here.
Very cool, Filth.
This is the first set.
Yep.
Anyways, I'll have to show you later. It's not important. I got to draw stuff here. But apparently some kids seen these strange creatures come out of this weird aircraft. This was in like 1955 or something. I have some notes somewhere, but of course I didn't bring them with me. And it happened over a couple hours. They seen these weird ships and everything, and then a disembodied hand appeared. And I don't know. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, so I've seen and processed and distributed pictures and shown them at conferences of huge orbs at Chris Bledsoe's with multiple people, multiple witnesses. And these orbs would poke out from portals. And in one of the pictures, the portal opens, the orb comes out, and you see these 2 human arms with hands on them come out of the portal in this picture from Chris Bledsoe's. And across from them, before I processed it, they couldn't see anything. But after I processed it, you can see 2 tall alien grays standing right in front of them.
That's creepy.
It's really amazing. Chris Bledsoe is such an interesting person.
And that was after... Go ahead.
Yeah, me and my partner and a bunch of other people are going to go visit. Chris. We have to pick a date and whatever. But right now it's a crazy near him. It's dozens of these things are showing up, and of course the military is flying all over the place every time those things show up over his house. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
So in those photos, you seen the entities after you dealt with the photos?
Yeah, they took the photos. I didn't take them. I have full line of ownership, so I'm absolutely certain the photo came from the camera. It still has all of the data from the camera on the picture, and it meets the parameters and specifications for that camera. So I believe the picture came from the camera. So I take the picture, and I have very, very fancy processing software that I use for my astronomical photography. Well, it can also be used to do terrestrial photography. So I take these pictures and I process them. I try all sorts of different ways of enhancing them. And about every time I do it at Chris Bledsoe's, where he thinks he's only got an orb or where there's some other weird aura, there's actually aliens there.
That's so cool.
Yep. It's pretty bloody cool, if you ask me.
That's just neat that you we get to be alive at this point in time, and we get to start seeing this stuff, and it's becoming more and more prevalent with just people in general. They're kind of believing it. You can every time I go to a grocery store or something, I always mention, I draw cartoons for a radio show about aliens. People are like, oh, I think I've seen some weird lights in the sky. I'm like, oh, really?
So Phil, do me a favor when Dave comes back, remind me to tell him we need to insert a major story at the top of the next half hour.
Major story.
Major story.
Major story.
It's earth shattering, and totally changes the entire disclosure picture, and it happened today.
So we found out how to turn a boiled egg back into a raw egg, is what you're telling me.
So we have not figured out how to violate the second law of thermodynamics, but it's pretty exciting.
You're exciting, Science Bob. You're exciting.
Dave, I'm supposed to remind you at the top of the hour there's a major story I'm supposed to remind you about. So I'm reminding you now.
And Dave, just let me have it, and I will tell the story.
All right. We can do that.
Another cartoon because I feel like it.
Well,
I want our audience to hear it as quickly as anyone.
We got about 30 seconds here. I want to say thank you to Ben, D. Cohen, Bob, Lala, Heidi, and Dank for the amazing Super Chats. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So if you see value in what we're doing, grab it up. Hit that Super Chat. We'd really appreciate it. And you can do some shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store, which has great swag for you, including Science Bob t-shirts. Let's get it going with hour number 2 here.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate it. Want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Recondite. Recondite is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Here we are tonight, Science Bob and friends, as we continue on talking James Webb Satellite. But Bob, you got some big news you want to mention right off the bat.
I do. So everyone remembers that in the past, the first year of the Biden administration, the National Defense Authorization Act forced AOI-MSG to be formed. That's the office inside the Pentagon that's going to investigate UAPs, USOs, and whatever. Okay, so this National Defense Authorization Act was passed by both houses of Congress and signed by President Biden, so it's now law. And the funding is the budget that will fund that office is in the works. Okay, so today the House, fed up with the crap they have been hearing from the Pentagon and others about letting people testify about what they're seeing, passed a law. The Republicans and the Democrats and the leadership in the House, Pelosi and the minority leader, got together and passed a bill. And this National Defense Authorization Act amendment does the following. If you are a person who has information about a UAP or a UFO that you feel is important for the American people to know, you can come to the Intelligence and Armed Services Committee in the Congress, committees in the Congress, and your non-disclosure agreements are set aside for you to testify. And it does not matter if you are a government employee or a contractor. So anyone with knowledge can come forth freely and tell what they know, and nothing can be done to them. If that passes the Senate and Biden signs it, we have ended the truth embargo forever. There will be a flood of people coming out and telling us about UFOs, and the dam will break, and we will find out the truth.
Well, let's hope that happens, because right now we are on a road to confirmation. We're not on a road to disclosure. We need to be able to decipher the difference between the two, Bob.
Okay, so for the people in the United States, your job is call your senator's office. Whatever your two senators are, call both the offices and tell them you demand that they vote for the amendment to the National Defense Authorization Act that the House passed. That's your job as a citizen. If you want UFO disclosure, and I mean true disclosure, where nobody can stop the truth from coming out because they're allowed to do it. If you want that to happen, call your senator.
And let's remind our audience, too, that this also works in Canada. This also works in the United Kingdom, in France, in Portugal, Spain, Australia. It works everywhere. We need to be able to get, really, really focused, Bob, on trying to get this going and get this switched over from a confirmation to a disclosure type movement. Now, everybody's disclosure is different, Bob. Mine is much like we see Tim Burchett talking. I want everything. I want Roswell. I want Eisenhower. I want Lazar, which over the last 72 hours, my opinion has slightly changed on Lazar. All right. And I am, but we deserve it all. We deserve it all, Bob.
Yep. So, and I'm just going to tell you, if this NDAA passes, those people who hold the secrets about Roswell will be able to come forward and tell us.
Well,
that's the deal. That's the Roswell bill. Call it the Roswell bill, because that's what it is. We will learn the truth.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Let's get to some audience questions here before I lose my voice here. Let's go to Huckleberry Charles. Science Bob, what's your take on the Starlink network of satellites that SpaceX is implementing?
Well, so I saw that earlier, and I commented, but let me go ahead and do it here on the air. I own Starlink RV, and that is the portable version of Starlink, and I can roam around the country with my travel camper and have 100 megabit per second internet wherever I go. And so this is what Starlink is bringing to us. So its coverage is increasing. The capacity for more people to get on is increasing with every launch. So right now, at my poorly visible location with a bunch of trees and about half the sky, I lose a few seconds out of every 5 minutes of 100 megabits per second. Clear from these trees, it's 100 megabits per second. As I go further north, I never have an outage, and it's really very, very good. So as I go north from here, it gets better. And that's because the satellites are in polar or inclined orbits. And so there are more of them near the top and bottom of the Earth than there are at the equator. So as you go north, they concentrate. As you go towards the equator, they spread out. And so in southern United States, there's fewer seen, but there's still enough. It's still enough. I'll get 100 megabits per second. And that's going to go everywhere I want to go in the North America.
It's a beautiful thing. Let's go to Dirt Road. Where is the dead center of the universe? Do we know yet?
Okay, so if you start any place in the universe, and you pick a direction, you are the same distance from the edge of the universe as anyone else in the universe. This is just one of these mind-bending consequences of general relativity. Nowhere and everywhere.
Are you in the market for a storage building or a tiny home, maybe even a man cave or she shed? Well, I'm your guy. I'm Ethan with Shivers Buildings, and we supply the highest quality storage buildings and tiny homes on the market, all while providing the best customer service in the industry. Visit us today at shiversbuildings.com to view our live inventory or even design your dream shed in 3D. Once again, that's shiversbuildings.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
If you organize events, meet your new ticketing buddy. TicketBud is an event ticketing platform that's user-friendly for first-time organizers while powerful and flexible for large events. TicketBud makes ticketing easy. It's free to sign up and instantly access all features and customer support. TicketBud's low flat fee only applies to ticket sales and can be built into the ticket price paid by attendees. Access a special ticketing offer today at ticketbud.com/Spotify.
Is the center of the universe. Nowhere because there is no center, and everywhere because if you start at a place and move towards the edge, you're the same distance from the edge as anyone else who starts at a place, any place else in the universe, and moves to the edge.
So what you're saying is we don't know.
No, we do know. What I'm telling you is that question in space-time governed by general relativity does not have the answer she wants. Everybody is the center of their own universe, like all narcissistic people. Every point in the universe is narcissistic because it's the center of the universe.
All right, let's move on to Dizzy Me. I've had a weird question for a while, and this seems to be the best time to ask. It's going to take a minute to type it. Sorry in advance for explaining it like a 5-year-old, and I missed the rest. So, Dizzy Me, throw it on out there. We'll get it to Science Bob, and we'll do our best to try and get there for you, okay? Let's go to Rob Heatherly. Science Bob, do you give validity to Mond Tevis as alternative to dark matter energy explanation?
So modified Newtonian and all that other stuff. I don't see the necessary proofs and arguments and the proposition of a test that we as scientists can conduct to confirm it. So it's an interesting theory. Right now, I don't see the way to confirm it, and all evidence to the contrary is that general relativity explains the universe.
All right, let's go to Vinman. Are these images that we saw from the James Webb Telescope colorized by NASA for better illustration?
Okay, so that's he's got the gist of the idea. Let me explain it. So these are infrared telescopes. But remember I told you that all the light from the stars and the galaxies is shifted to the infrared near the edge of the universe. So the space telescope gets a picture. And when we bring it back to the Earth, the infrared image is shifted up in a color from low frequency to higher frequency. So the original natural colors of the object, as if they were located near you, are shown in the final images. So the red ones are shifted until they're in the visible range. And that's how these pictures are made.
All right, let's get back to Dizzy Me here for a second. Started the show late. She's missed what you said earlier, Science Bob, about your credentials. You are an actual scientist. Please explain your background for her.
Sure. So I have degrees in applied mathematics and electrical engineering, and I'm what's called a polymath. So at Virginia Tech, I was in 5 different departments. Physics, 3 engineerings, and math. Okay, so it's just my thing. Okay, so I have a PhD, Doctor of Philosophy in Applied Mathematics from Brown University, and I worked on dynamical systems like stars evolving around each other or things moving together. That's a dynamical system, and the dynamical systems I specialized in are the ones that have random motion added to them by some force. And so that's like quantum mechanical excitation of classical things is covered by what I did for my PhD thesis. That's the reason I know all that stuff. Okay, so before that, I had degrees in mathematics and electrical engineering. And so when I left working for the government, I became chief scientist of the Hume Center for National Security and Technology, and I worked on software-defined radio, cognitive radio, artificial intelligence, machine learning, some mathematical problems, some quantum computing in the physics and Hume and other departments. So I have a wide range of interests, large number of papers, and I am an actual scientist. So I don't, no one can pigeonhole me. I have people that got PhDs in aerospace. I have people that got PhDs in double E. I have people that got PhDs in math. I have people that got PhDs in computer science. I have people that got PhDs in whatever that were my students. So I cannot be pigeonholed because I don't want to be tied down to doing just one thing.
That's why we love Science Bob around here. Well deserving of the name Science Bob. Wouldn't you agree, Science Bob?
You gave me that name. I didn't pick it, but I like it, so I'm going to keep it.
You know what's funny is how many people now recognize you as Science Bob.
Yeah. Oh no. I was at SGU, and we're talking about big name scientists and credentialed people that do UFOs and do science, and people that work for the government, and they would come up to me and they would say, "Bob McGuire, are you Science Bob?" And I went, "Yes." So I gave up. I took my SCU badge and I wrote science right over Bob McGuire so that people would quit asking me.
Nice. Yes. Yes. I'm taking credit for that.
You got credit. You earned it.
Good. Well, you deserve it. It's a show of love and respect for you, Science Bob. Let's just be honest. And, all right, let's get to more audience questions here. Noble Patrick is acting. Any ideas what NASA talked about after they run the press out?
I don't know what he's referring to.
I guess sorry. After the James Webb press conference. What would have been talked about?
So there's a lot of background questions, and there's a lot of worry. So the James Webb Telescope, it's working great. It's working awesome. It's way out 1 million kilometers from Earth, and it's working great. About once every month, a nasty piece of dust is making a little dent in a mirror. And so I believe that they are doing a computation that is telling them how long that they're going to be able to do really, really good science with their $10 billion telescopes, given the rate of these little specks of sand hitting the thing at very high speed is damaging the mirrors.
All right. With one of those nebulas that we were looking at, Starscar is asking, how close is it to us? Will we be affected when it blows?
Okay, so we will see the photons that come from the bright object, so that will affect you in that the photons will hit your eye and your body. But will it do harm? And the answer is very, 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 very low probability that any harm will be done to you. These things are really far away.
Nice. All right, let's move on to Dirtith Filth. Has a question for you. Would the sun appear in the skies like a black mass if it exploded?
It would. So we have had stars explode that we have seen in the daytime in 1066 AD, and that is now called a thing that anybody can go on Google and look up. It's called the Crab Nebula. That was a star that blew up in 1066.
Okay. The Crab Nebula.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's where the crab people come from, people.
Oh, yeah.
Just so you know. It. Crab people. All right, let's get to another audience question here. As Jenny would like to know, Bob, do they have any idea where everything floating around there came from?
Oh, okay. So, Jenny, that's such a good question. And can I tell you, scientists are all over the map. There are a lot of scientists that are religious. They believe in God, the universal consciousness, Muhammad, Vishnu. They believe in Buddha. They believe in all sorts of stuff. The universal consciousness. So lot of people are spiritual or religious, and they believe that pink magic wand was waved and stuff came by the controlling entity. There are others who don't believe that at all, and they are ironclad atheists. So they believe that quantum field theory with the Heisenberg uncertainty principle says there is no place in space that is empty, that random things come into existence in these little boxes. So they believe at some time in the distant past, a random event after trillions of years of trials finally flipped the right coin, and boom, the universe came into existence from quantum mechanical considerations. I don't think the argument for that is particularly strong, but there are a lot of physicists that hate the word God, and so they've latched onto it.
Oh, that hatred. Such hatred. It's terrible. Really is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But nonetheless, let's move on. Let's go to toe tag here. Science Bob, is that 0 point related to the God particle experiment at CERN?
It is not. The Higgs boson is the particle that is generated by the Higgs field. And the Higgs field is like, think of the Higgs field like the universe is filled with molasses. And so particles, when they fly through the molasses, they slow down because there's viscosity. So the Higgs field is the viscosity that slows particles down, that keeps them from going at the speed of light. So what do particles have that do not go at
Da-da-da.
that slowing down depends on the particle, and so the slowing down is what the inertial mass of every particle is derived from. So all the mass in the universe is a result of having the Higgs field and the Higgs boson, and it is not 0 point energy.
Well, there you go. There you go. All right, let's move on to another question here. This one comes from Uncle Dale and his power stash. I'm not sure which one is actually asking the question, Bob, but we'll figure it out as we go. Will the James Webb satellite give us any more insight into Tebbe's star?
I do not know the answer.
What is Tebbe's star?
I do not know the answer to that either.
Well, let's check it out here. Tebbe.
I failed, Dale. Google it so that we can see.
All right. Oh, is it Tebbe or Tabby's? Because there is Tabby's star. Is an F-type main sequence star in the constellation Cygnus, approximately 1,470 light years from Earth. Unusual light fluctuations of the star, including up to a 22% dimming in brightness, were discovered by citizen scientists as part of the Planet Hunters project.
Okay, so the answer is yes. James Webb Telescope will give us a huge amount of insight into Tabby's star because that's one of the things it was designed for. So what will happen is we will image Tabby's star with the James Webb, and we will see all sorts of light curves coming from it. And then all the dust and crap between us and that star, the infrared will penetrate it, and we'll be able to map the elements that are in the star and see all things about the star's atmosphere that we can't do with visible telescopes. So, Dale, the answer to your question is yes, we will get a lot of insight about Tabby's star.
Oh, that's just awesome. Absolutely awesome. We got about 90 seconds. Let's sneak in Dizzy Me's question here. What is the theory that the known universe is just a much smaller inner part of a larger outer thing?
That's called the multiverse. So there's lots of parallel universes that make up the actual creation. And so that was put together back in the 60s or 70s, I can't remember which, by a student of John Wheeler at Princeton University. And that person gave up physics because everybody trashed him for coming up with that theory. And now most physicists actually believe it. So it's just kind of an interesting thing. It's the multiverse.
Wow. All right, can we sneak in one more? Let's try Worsley. We got 35 seconds. Addendum, especially within the infrared spectrum of James Webb.
Addendum, especially within. I don't understand the question. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, we'll save the rest for when we come back, Science Bob. And I know Eugene has a question he's going to be adding in here soon. I apologize, Eugene. I did miss that. If I've missed any of your other questions out there, please do me a favor. Repost them. I'm having a hell of a night here on my first night back, and I can tell you right now that old Davy is pretty tired from a heavy few days, but wouldn't want it any other way, people. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm hanging on out with all of you. I know you missed me. I missed you even more. Science Bob and Friends goes to the top of the hour. Who knows? Science Bob maybe even sticks around for a little Area 51 talk after Swamp Dweller. We'll be back with more right after this. Hey, Science Bob. Eugene, I got your question now. Thank you. Yep. I did not eat any Taco Bell during my trip.
What?
I did not eat Taco Bell once.
Well, I mean, look, Taco Bell you do when you have to, because everything in it's mystery meat. It's 10% beef and 70%.
I'm sorry, Bob. Your signal is coming in really, really bad right now. Talking about Taco Bell like that. Science Bob, are you there? Are you there, Science Bob? Hello?
Yeah. With the oatmeal in my burrito.
Oh. No, I did not have Taco Bell once. My problem that I had was that I did not drink enough water down there. And my body, every joint of my body hurts right now. And I can tell you that 4 plane rides in 5 days. I've never done that before, but that is heavy on the body. I didn't realize that.
No kidding.
You know,
like eating Taco Bell.
I'm sorry, Bob. Why do you keep leaving us? Why do you keep leaving us? Jerk. But we made a lot of new fans. I flew over on the way back over Joe Monk's house in the Sierra Nevadas. He fired his cannon up at me. No, but I did see Bigfoot. And Lola, the puppy, chased Bigfoot. You know what was scary is I looked out my window, Bob. You know, we were right near the Sierra Nevadas, right near Reno. And all of a sudden I look out my window, and there's another smaller airline craft flying. We crisscrossed. And I was like, holy cow. Never expected to see that. Like, literally, this guy went right underneath us, and the next thing you know, he's at our altitude.
Wow.
That was scary. Yeah.
I believe it.
Oh, and for anybody on the West Coast, just so you know, if you're looking at Mount Baker, which we get a great view of here in southern British Columbia, it actually has a top on it. The glacier on it has actually frozen the top. I never knew that. And our pilot was generous enough to fly us right by Mount Baker so we could see the entire other side that we never get to see. And, yeah, it was kind of cool. All right, we got about 90 seconds here. Science Bob and friends. If you want to stick around for the Area 51 talk, Bob, what's...
I'm wide awake.
Sure. You're more than welcome.
Yeah, the kids are going to go off to one of these bouncing parks where you get on the floor. The whole floor is trampolines.
Yep.
And Bob is not doing that. I'm not going to break my neck. So I'm going to sleep in.
I would love to see you do that. I would love to see you do that. Come on, Bob. Let's do it. I want to say a big thank you tonight to Christian, Dank, Heidi, Lala, Bob, D. Cohen, and Ben for the awesome super chats. Really do appreciate the love and support that you guys give us on a nightly basis. If you see value in what we do on a nightly basis, hit up that super chat. It really does help us out on a monthly basis, so thank you so much. And I want to say a big thank you to everybody who shopped recently at our Spaced Out Radio store. Superknower, I know your issue. I'm going to try and figure that out here in a few days. Let me just get back to normal here because I'm pretty beat up and I'm having to work full hours this week at work, my daytime job. So I'm going to rest my voice here. We're going to come back here in about 10 seconds.
If you organize events, meet your new ticketing buddy. TicketBud is an event ticketing platform that's user-friendly for first-time organizers, while powerful and flexible for large events. TicketBud makes ticketing easy. It's free to sign up and instantly access all features and customer support. TicketBud's low flat fee only applies to ticket sales and can be built into the ticket price paid by attendees. Access a special ticketing offer today at ticketbud.com/Spotify.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? Quality oil like Valvoline Full Synthetic can help you get more out of every mile. Right now, you can get 5 quarts with an STP Extended Life Oil Filter for only $36.99. Got an older vehicle? Try Valvoline Full Synthetic High Mileage options. Get what you need for better fuel efficiency at any of our 6,200 stores or on AutoZone.com.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate you tuning us on in. I want to remind you, if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We are going to continue on with some audience questions here for Science Bob and friends. And Bob, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
Good. I'm not. I'm struggling tonight. Struggling, but that's okay. I haven't even unpacked yet. But here we go. Jonathan Davies over in the UK. We call him Little Johnny Davies around here. He's asking, will we get more public hearings, Bob, if the focus now is on SAPs?
So, now that he just joined us, we can reiterate what I just said. Is the National Defense Authorization Act has been amended by the House of Representatives to allow anyone with knowledge, no matter what NDA they've signed, no matter what they've been told they have to do, without recourse, they can come and talk to a committee in Congress about what they know. So that's what I call the Roswell Tell-It-All bill. And it passed the House. If it passes the Senate and Joe Biden signs it, we will learn about Roswell and every other bloody thing you could think about.
I agree with you. I totally do. All right, let's go to D. Cohen here. When do you think we will make contact with the others?
Well, I'm going to tell you what I think and what Dave thinks and what, let's say, half our audience, my buddy Lala, and a bunch of other people that are in this audience know. We are in regular contact with the others. I see orbs in my front yard. They fly through the window and sit on my couch. I see these blinking things that come out down the sky and fly under the trees in my backyard. I go to Chris Bledsoe's and I see 40-foot orbs. And whenever I see a picture taken by Bledsoe at his home and he can't see stuff, after I do fancy processing to it, it's full of aliens. So let me tell you what, I don't care what anybody says. The evidence is clear. They are here.
I agree with that. I will say this, and I think that we have known for a long, long time that there has been contact. I think that there has been an issue with that contact, okay, and whether it's malevolent or benevolent, because, let's face it, we're still a very immature and species, and we are still very new, and have, especially on the technological side, excuse me, but I do believe that we are able to say that there is some sort of contact that's been made. I really do believe that's a fair assessment, Bob.
Yeah, I'm telling you, everything I know about experiencers is there is some kind of contact with the phenomenon going on all over the world. There are, in the United States, there are 1 million people who have been taken and tinkered with by aliens. I mean, the hybridization experiments where women are taken, impregnated, and the fetus taken, and the other crazy, unreal sexual stuff that happens with these aliens, and the fear that people are put under, and all these energies that are generated during sexual intercourse or fear or other seems to be absorbed and used by these entities. And no one can figure. I have no idea what the mantids are doing, but they're involved with uniformed people in my lab's experiments. And we know lots of people that are involved in all of that and know about it. Go ask Melinda Leslie if aliens are here. She will tell you, and wait for a blast, because she's going to tell you at the top of her lungs.
And it's literally going to take you 6 days.
Yeah, 6 days of having your ears blown out by Melinda for even having the audacity to ask the question, because the answer is known.
And that's on one breath, people. That's on
one breath. Melinda, one breath.
Yes. She is the most loving one run-on sentence you'll ever meet.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And she is an amazing talent. She takes people out every night and shows them UFOs. She takes them into her shop and teaches them how to bend spoons, how to do remote viewing. She's an amazing person.
Well, you know what? In Denver, she didn't know that I had mentioned her in my speech at the symposium, and because she couldn't make it, she was working with Donald Schmidt on something to do with Roswell. She wouldn't leave me alone the rest of the weekend, thanking me, because she has such a beautiful heart. Thanking me for mentioning her in my speech. And, Melinda Leslie, if you ever get a chance to give her a hug, do so, okay, because literally she is one of the most fabulous people in this field.
Yeah, she was my buddy at SCU along with Linda Thompson. So we sat at the experiencers table.
Excellent. Thank you, Grant, for that awesome super chat. Very much appreciated. Good to have you back in the room, man. All right, let's go to Kronos here. Are the galaxies we see out there more akin to visible parallel galaxies and not so much physical places out there? I like this question.
No, I like it, but the answer is no. Every galaxy that we can see with our eyes or with our telescopes is a part of our physical space-time, our universe.
That's it? I expected you to explode on that one.
No.
Jonathan Davies is asking, MUFON dumps orbs, good or bad? I'm going to say this, Jonathan. You're going to want to listen to the Dave 101 tomorrow night. You may have just accepted the hint of what I'm going to be talking about during the Dave 101 tomorrow night. So that's something that you might want to keep a note on. How about you, Bob?
I'm sorry, Dave. There was an audio dropout. Can you repeat it?
MUFON dumps orbs, good or bad?
Bad. Totally bad. Half of all observations or more are orbs.
Leads to Julie's question. MUFON forbids paranormal. Thoughts? Once again, listen to the Dave 101 tomorrow night. At the final half hour of the show, I'm going to be giving my opinion on this. And Mr. Steve Hudgens from MUFON's board of directors is not a very popular man within his position right now. Not a very popular man. Science Bob, let's continue with the questions here. Tony is asking, what's your thoughts about the Hadron Collider at the moment?
The Large Hadron Collider? Yeah, so it is about to be fired up with massive new improvements in basically everything. It'll go 10% higher or more in energy, and so we might, what everyone is hoping, and they're not going to get it in my opinion, but everyone is hoping that they will get to a certain energy and all of a sudden they'll see a whole zoo of new particles. And the zoo of particles they are hoping they are seeing will be the particles that are needed for what is called supersymmetry. And if we see supersymmetry, we will know how to write the laws of physics for the final time.
Didn't Sheldon and Amy Farrah Fowler already figure that out on Big Bang Theory, and that's what they won the Nobel Prize for?
That was what it is, and a great TV show, and maybe they're like a lot of science fiction, even comedy science fiction TV shows, crap eventually becomes real.
Gordium wants to know, when will a solar flare knock out all electronics on Earth?
We will have a reasonable chance for a solar flare to do damage to electronics on Earth in the next 3 to 4 years as we are moving toward what looks to be a pretty good solar maximum. But it's been quite a while since the 1950s, 57, 58, since we've had a solar maximum with enough ionizing energy to beat the Earth and destroy a bunch of electronics. And we're getting very good at making the electronics harder.
Very true. All I know is that I'm in the perfect position for one hell of a set of northern lights when that happens.
There you go.
All right. The scowling Greg O'Brien would like to know, why does the Earth look like a molecule?
So I'm going to say that the Earth does not look like a molecule. And the reason I'm going to say that is a molecule is a bunch of atoms. And a bunch of atoms is protons, electrons, neutrons, etc. And the position and velocity of all those particles that make up that molecule is determined only probabilistically. So what we see is a great big cloud of stuff until we do an observation. And that's what quantum mechanics tells us, is it's a great big old cloud that is indeterminate. So the Earth does not look like a molecule because a molecule looks nothing like the Earth.
All right, let's continue on here. Eugene is asking, what do you make of CERN? Super dangerous or no?
No. And I get what he's asking. It will particles collide with sufficient energy to form a black hole, for example? And the answer is, it's an easy calculation to show. The answer is no.
All right. You don't think it's causing Mandela effect type of issues?
Nope. I believe in Mandela effect. I mean, I'm going around talking to people, my friends, and so forth, and we always constantly talk about the Mandela effect. Did you know this? people used to think this and now it's that. I have that conversation regularly.
Okay, let's continue on here. Jonathan Davies wants to know, Bob, Dyson sphere, do you think James Webb will find one? Explain what a Dyson sphere is first.
Okay, so Freeman Dyson was a brilliant scientist that died in the last few years. I had the extreme luck and pleasure to be a friend of Freeman Dyson when I lived in New Jersey. So he regularly participated in the research that I did when I was in Princeton, and I got to know Freeman. Freeman was the person that showed that Richard Feynman and Julian Swinger and Tominaga from Japan, who had come up with 3 separate theories describing the quantum electrodynamics, which is electrons and protons and making the electromagnetic field and all this other stuff, and the quantum field theory that governs them. He showed that all 3 of those theories were identical. He transformed one from another, and he proved, so he unified all these things into one quantum electrodynamical theory, and Richard Feynman won the day because his Feynman diagrams allowed you to do computations graphically that were absolutely impossible if you tried to write down these massive equations, because each one of these graphs graphically stood for an equation. So Dyson was brilliant. So he did a calculation. How much energy could you capture if you wrapped your star in a sphere? And the amount of energy is enormous. So if you capture all the energy of a star, the metal is going to heat up. And if that metal heats up, what kind of radiation is it giving off? Infrared. That if it's hot, it's giving off infrared energy. What does the James Webb Telescope see? Infrared. So if there are Dyson spheres, the James Webb Telescope is the ideal instrument to find them. And so I believe if there's an intelligent species that's thousands of years ahead of us, we will find one.
All right, Science Bob and Friends continues here. We got a bunch more questions, Bob. Marty is asking, does dark matter exist?
So Marty, that's my Facebook buddy Marty. The answer is we cannot explain the rotation of galaxies. So there's a center and they spin around that center, like each star is orbiting the center or the center of mass. So we cannot explain the velocities of the stars that orbit the center in the galaxy if dark matter does not exist. Since we can't explain all the galaxies of the universe without dark matter, that to me is pretty dadgum good evidence that dark matter exists.
All right, let's continue on here. Let's go to Joe. Can Bob just pull something random off a shelf behind him and tell us what it is? I like that.
Sure.
Question.
Okay, I'll do this.
Hold on, let's zoom in on you so we can see what you're doing here.
No, hang on. I'm grabbing a radio.
That's
so
nice
this
shirt,
is a Flex radio.
It's a nice shirt,
And
by the
Flex
way.
Radio is a company that I decided to work with in Austin, Texas, started by a friend of mine. And I hope y'all can hear that lightning and thunder because the lightning struck right outside my window. It didn't take out the power, though. Anyway, so this radio is revolutionary. And I wrote all of the code that ran the radio things inside it, and I helped them analyze how their radio worked and how to make it better, and that made this radio. So this is the highest performing radio of its type in the year it was designed. But then we figured out how to do it even better. So I showed them, along with my partner Fred Harris, how to design the next generation of their radios, and it used a different technique, and we showed them that it would work, and they built the radios, and it's now the highest performing radio of any in its class. And so I've just been doing this radio stuff my entire life, and most of what you see here is telescope optics, radio equipment, ham radio equipment, radio observation equipment. That shelf is all cameras. Man, I've got a collection of cameras and lenses like you wouldn't believe. So that's my toy shelf. I reach up there and grab stuff quickly if I want to do something.
Wow. I love your toys, Science Bob. All right, let's get to another one. Let's get to Eugene's question here. Why is antimatter so volatile?
Because if it touches matter, it destroys itself and becomes a gamma ray. If antimatter touches matter, they cease to exist, and what's left behind is a gamma ray.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, I did not know that, Bob. Let's go to YJ Overlander here. Can James Webb detect artificial light generated on closer planets?
Absolutely. So, better than that, YJ, better than that. If there is a planet around another star and it has a bunch of bright cities on it, we will be able to detect it with the James Webb Telescope.
Now, tell us about your telescope at home here. I'm going to try and bring up a picture here, so bear with me here. But, I mean, you, Science Bob, have... Where did you send it? Did you text it to me?
I'll probably send it in Signal.
Do you want to send that to me in Facebook Messenger so I could show our audience what you're playing with at home?
Yep, sure. Let me get a copy of the picture, and then I'll send it to you in Messenger.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Kira, I will do that. I did get a chance to briefly read the first one or two. I will get through them, I promise you, and then I will respond. All right. Science Bob looking. Oh, you should see Tim Senor in the background here, looking all dapper, and, he freshly shaved his head for tonight, It's looking good.
Yeah, I mine's pretty fresh. I even shaved my face for you, Dave.
Well,
I even took a bath and put on a clean shirt.
You did not. You shut your mouth right there, Science Bob.
I did, just for you.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, Science Bob showering. No, I'm teasing. Let's go here. All right, so tell us what we're looking at here, Science Bob.
Okay. All right, so the big white barrel with the orange plates on the top and the bottom is my telescope. The backside with all that crap gear attached on the back and that black blob on the back of the white barrel is where the mirror is. So that is a mirror. And so the front of the telescope at the other end, there is a lens. And this lens fixed.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Starting trouble. No one likes that. We'll get you set up for some stronger starts. You might just need a fresh charge, and we'll take care of that free of charge.
But if it is time for a new battery, we've got replacement batteries that'll fit your needs, starting at just $69.99.
You can learn more about our battery selection at AutoZone.com. That's what makes us America's #1 battery destination.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Claim based on data from the NPD Group 2021.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
This is the light in a way that when it goes down the barrel, hits the mirror, comes back up and hits another mirror that's attached to the inside of that lens, and it's reflected back again and comes back down through that little tube where you little tube. Hey, that's 12 pounds of camera. So the little tube, it captures the twice reflected light and pours it into those red cameras. So the red camera that you see is a very, 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 very sensitive camera. And that black wheel right in front of it, which is very thin, you don't know that right there. That black wheel is a filter wheel. So it's a black and white camera, and if I want to take a red picture, I tell it, turn the red filter over. If I want to take a blue picture, I tell it, turn the blue filter over. If I want to take a hydrogen alpha picture, I tell it, turn the hydrogen alpha filter over. So from that image, from that collection of photos with all those different colors, I can make an extremely high quality color images by blending all of them in fancy software. So right in front of it is a thing called a focal reducer that makes the telescope faster. And so that's how the telescope works. Above the telescope, the smaller telescope, that picks out a star and corrects the drive mechanism so the telescope stays pointed at the object of interest. So down beneath the telescopes, you will see there's a bunch of weights on a shaft that comes up to the center of a plate, and that plate is where those two orange levers are. That is a barrel, and that barrel rotates with those weights and the telescope. And so the weights are to balance the telescope stuff, and that rotating barrel rotates exactly at the same speed as the Earth rotates. So you point the telescope at an object, and the little telescope corrects the speed, and that barrel turning keeps the telescope pointed at the object, because these are very low light level images, and you have to take pictures for hours.
Wow. And these boxes down below, those would be batteries?
So there is a battery, which you can see the telescope can run off battery, but I run it off main electricity. So right above that, where you see a little orange, you see a little black thing with a cable coming out of it that go up, and to the left. Oh, left, right there. That is the hand controller in which I can put in signals by hand. You can't see here, because it's on the other side of the telescope, is a tiny computer that is massively capable, and I can do an entire imaging sequence, do an entire night's plan for working, and the computer will do it while I sleep.
Nice. Science Bob and Friends wraps up for the day, but Bob's going to be with us as Tim Senor joins us right after Swamp Dweller, and we are going to get into a little bit of MUFON, a little bit of Area 51, probably a lot of Area 51 tonight on Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. Very good segment, Science Bob. Hello, gorgeous D. Swiger. Let's just bring Tim in early. There he is. Hi, little Timmy. The little Timmy that could.
Hi, Tim.
He's not even turning on his microphone yet. No. Look at who's more freshly shaven, Bob or Tim? Let's take a look here. Hold on.
The side by side.
I don't know. Or dirty
Get a
filth.
little light on the subject. How you feeling there, Dave?
I'm feeling rough today, dude. I am feeling really, really rough.
I feel great. I feel fantastic. I feel super. I'm so charged. I got so much done today. And, man, I hit the ground running when I got back home. My wife had everything in order for me. My kids were like, hooray. I came prepped home with gifts. Dad's a champ. And also, as a hint as to what my next project is, this was waiting for me. So nice. I can leave the country now. I'm allowed.
Nice.
So, yes.
Oh, I
Science
am just...
Bob, nice to meet you, by the way. Thanks for being with Dave here and
Tim,
inviting me on.
I've watched your appearances and I've seen you do stuff, and I'm glad to be here with you, and I'm glad you're being part of the SOR family. It's great.
It's great.
Yeah, I love this Science Bob segment. I look forward to it every month.
It kicks ass and takes names.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's why
we had so much fun, didn't we, Dave?
Yeah. Yeah, we did.
Where to start? Jeez.
SOR.
One thing's fantastic. I can tell you, just very briefly, I should tell your listeners, Dave in person is as genuine and as fantastic and fun and informative as he is. And he is appearing to you on the show. What a swell guy.
Thanks,
and the
man.
hair and beard combination in 3D, meeting it in person, yeah. Mm-hmm. This guy checks all the boxes. So,
and he didn't even ask to touch it.
You got a great host.
I would have let you.
No, I did not. I kept my personal space, as did you, sir. You behaved.
We behaved all weekend.
We did. But we didn't sleep a lot. There wasn't a lot of sleep all weekend, but yeah.
Every time I come home from a trip, it's happened especially this year. I feel like crap afterwards. From that airline air to the rebreathing of your own air through a mask. And I'm not about to get into that debate, but Air Canada still forces us. To getting home into Vancouver and hitting Pollution Alley before making my way back into the mountains and getting into clean air, and it just messes with my system. Absolutely messes with my system.
I totally know what you mean. For me, I just feel great. I'm so sorry, man.
Oh, that's all right.
I feel totally charged, and
right.
I read a lot, and you know what? We learned a lot.
Oh, yeah.
That was an amazing,
especially on Monday.
6 days.
Especially on Monday. We learned a lot.
Monday. Was that Monday? See, I lost track of days.
Yeah.
To be quite honest with you, it's been a whirlwind of just informative people. Monday, yes, killed it. Cherry on top, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Can't wait to share everything with your audience that we can and have a lot of fun with it.
We literally have to be like Science Bob tonight and talk at our NDAs. We have verbal NDAs with this guy. So, Bob, give us a quick rundown here in 2 minutes. We're not going to break our NDAs tonight, man. We're not going to.
No. And private NDAs are not covered by the new law.
I know, but it's just fun to say that we have one.
Well, I definitely wouldn't want to cross him. This is not a dude that I would ever want to piss off.
He big.
It's not just that. You know that he could probably make a phone call.
Yeah.
And within a few minutes, your life is different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Step into his vehicle and it's filled with. I mean, it looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Commando in there with guns hidden everywhere, right?
I'm now an old man, but I lived an interesting life.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
My last field operation of any serious intent was Afghanistan in 2001 and 2. And then I became more cerebral, used my brain rather than whatever else I have, and did technical stuff, and went out one more time on the USS Blue Ridge, where we sailed across the Western Pacific and Thailand, South China Sea, etc., for months.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I led an interesting life.
Thank you for your service, brother. I didn't realize that you served. I'm sorry I didn't come prepared with your background. I apologize for that. This was a little bit last minute for me, but thank you for your service.
Yeah. We got 5 seconds, guys. 5 seconds.
I was happy to do it. A lot of people wondered why I was not out making money.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. And we want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Recondite. Recondite is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Let's kick off hour number 3. You know what? We're going to bring in Tim Senior and Science Bob right now. And because this isn't a regular type show, we'll save the Swamp Dweller for tomorrow night when we get back to normal. Gentlemen, welcome back. And Science Bob, thanks for sticking around.
I'm happy to be here.
All right.
Thanks for having me.
Where do you want to go? Denver or Area 51 first? Timmy?
Well.
Or Bob? Or do we let Phil?
Yeah, let Phil. Which is it, Phil?
We're going to Colorado.
There you go.
All right. Well, the first cool thing about downtown Denver was the scooters everywhere. And I never knew that they had scooters all over town that you could just take and go wherever you needed. And then when you're done with it, you just put it on the sidewalk for the next person to use. I was blown away by that. At the brilliance of it. But what a beautiful city, Tim, in Denver. Even with the weird airport.
Really was. Really was. Oh, don't get me started on that airport. I'm sure your viewers know more about it than perhaps even we do, but our cab drivers sure were informative. And boy, is that a bizarre airport, kicking you off, leaving with that, or entering perhaps with a big blue giant Bronco with the blazing red eyes. You know, and then you go in and some of the artwork is removed, but some of those ads are still left up. I know Paul Hynek had a couple on his phone that he was pretty happy to share, along with a couple other people that were just kind of blown away about how weird. Some of the ads were actually like apologizing for some of the additions or some of the work that would be taking place. And they were saying, they were apologizing for the lizard people down below. It just very odd references to aliens and lizard people and something being below that airport. It's odd.
Bob, you ever see any Denver lizards?
I've seen all sorts of wildlife in the high desert in Colorado and New Mexico, but I have not seen any. And I've been all over New Mexico. I worked at Sandia National Labs for a little over a year before I decided I wanted a doctorate and went back to school. So anyway, and I never saw Dulce. I never saw anything under Dulce. I saw a bunch of lizards and snakes and other things out in the desert, but I never saw anything that looked like an alien until I met Chris Bledsoe.
Yes, that Chris Bledsoe. Denver was fun, though. It was very informative. It was a very serious conference until I kind of spiced things up a little bit. Tim, I'll let you explain that a little bit more because I was the one doing it and don't really remember too much of it. But the idea behind a conference like this, there's a lot of suits. We had a conversation with a lady from NASA, and it was quite interesting to see what she would talk about off the record. She asked us point blank not to mention anything about that on the air, and we're going to respect that decision. And it was a good time, and it wasn't as how can I put it? close knit, Bob, as a lot of other conferences. Okay, where I've been to conferences where everybody's hanging out with everybody, much like we do. Much like
Laurie and Fenton's conferences, everybody knows each other and they all get
absolutely.
they hang together. They may not all get along, but they all hang
Absolutely.
together.
Like you could go into a restaurant in San Francisco at the UFO Con, and you'll see 3 people sitting at a table there, and nobody cares if you go up and join them. Same as and that's the way I think it should be. Right.
Yeah, that's how I met and became friends with Belinda Leslie.
Sorry, guys, a little bit dying here.
Who, by the way, is an amazing person. I got to meet Melinda, and I spent time with her. We had a meal together. She's amazing.
How many words did you get in?
Plenty. We
had
great. Full dialogue.
That's great.
We cocktailed together and spent multiple hours together. With Ron James, and the 3 of us had really interesting conversations about topics that were not just on this, but were related. There's a lot to it. Yeah. And so I did a lot of listening, for sure.
There's a lot that she can tell. And so for business reasons, I'm going to go spend time with her in Sedona and see stuff. She's going to help people that I work with and guide them and so forth. So she's already agreed to do that.
You can go on her tour if you're interested.
I've been out with her.
That would be amazing. I would do that in a heartbeat if I was out there. She's
so between her and Chris Bledsoe, I'll probably wind up seeing more UFOs than outside of the 2 of them, most people in the world.
Indeed.
Because they're both very, very frequent visited.
Tim, my voice is absolutely killing me here. And that's not a good sign for radio. Do me a favor. Do me a favor, because the audience obviously would like to, hear about what I talked about. And you were there through the whole thing. You saw the reaction from the crowd. I
did.
I think the coolest part about that is because we were right after lunch, and we had
was empty, wasn't it?
We had about 150, 160 people in there right before lunch, waiting to get everything set up. And then all of a sudden, within 10 minutes, the place was jammed. It was kind of cool.
It was cool. It was as if Jerry Garcia from the Grateful Dead had just walked up and taken the mic and switched everyone in the room on. They couldn't get their hands up quick enough when you allowed questions. And of course, being Dave, the king of woo, the minute he gets up there and gets into the swing of things, the whole system glitches out for some reason and completely takes down all of the monitors, so he wasn't able to go through his presentation, and just off-roads it and starts throwing questions out into the crowd, which got into some of Dave's personal experiences, which he absolutely shared in beautiful detail, which is hard to do, just to be so comfortable to share something, like what you personally go through, Dave, the way you did in this particular case, because it was really interesting. So you had people on the edge of their seat just over your personal stuff, and then allowed for questions. And again, I think the system came back on, and people really didn't even want you to go back into your presentation yet. They wanted you to finish your story because they looped you back into it. And absolutely, it was a great topic too. Having this crawl into the media the way it does, and people get excited, and you kind of present it as don't get too excited, and you're offering your options that you do. It's a multifaceted topic. And so there was a lot to talk about. And again, watching you walk off stage, it was kind of like the groupies swarming Dave. I was trying to get over there to see if he needed water because I could tell he was dry. I couldn't even get to him. So it was a lot of fun. You could tell that they would definitely be wanting this guy back, literally standing room only, from a completely empty room to a completely standing room only room. So much fun.
And you know,
I
not
think
to
it turned
sound
yeah.
braggadocious here, okay, but there were a lot of seminars with people speaking there where people started and left a quarter to halfway through.
Well, it is tough, and it's not. I think a lot of people that present to the same people don't necessarily have new information, or maybe they have a book that everyone's already read. And so it's just not like new information where you were you just had images and you were talking about current events and you were able to flow. And it's just a different presentation style to anybody else there, I think, is a simple way, keeping things fresh and interesting instead of kind of droning off of notes and just
In Jacksonville, you'll get more of what you want out of a Florida vacation and less of what you don't. Here, it's less hectic and more eclectic with our weekly arts markets, vibrant outdoor mural scene, museums, and historic landmarks. Jacksonville, it's easier here.
Here in the South, the summer heat can be brutal, but work on your property never ends. You need equipment that's fast, efficient, and versatile. That's exactly what you get with John Deere equipment from SunSouth. Like the easy-to-use John Deere 3025E tractor with loader starting at only $295 a month. So you'll beat the heat, plus you'll save time and money. For quality John Deere equipment, come see us at SunSouth. Equipment for those that do.
Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Expires July 30th, 2022.
Actually reading, because I could have read a lot of those presentations, myself. So not to say anything down here, because my takeaway from that MUFON symposium was amazing group of people with great intentions that definitely get distracted by some of the red tape, I guess, is probably what it seems like, which every organization has. What I was there for personally, and I was a new face there, a few people recognized me, which was great, but I kind of enjoyed being under the radar, was that there is a big room for change with what they're calling new blood. New blood isn't young people necessarily, just new people to the field. And this new blood is needing to have more research behind it than just stories. And I think that perhaps MUFON is looking to get more into what they used to do with their STAR teams. Having actual research, boots on the ground, a portion of the organization doing that for them to represent the science, not just the, I wouldn't want to say, well, you understand what MUFON just takes and collates a lot of sightings from witnesses and then offers that to their researchers without a ton of boots on the ground research, especially in the recent years. But I think it is a time that they're ready, to get data into that organization again. And so that was really what I was talking about.
What surprised?
Well, I can't figure out how they will resource it.
Independently for people like me that don't need funding.
Yeah,
that are just offering it. Yeah.
I mean, people like us that we'll do our thing. Like
and you,
I'm just going to go. I'm going to go do my thing. But the organization needs to have a funded field staff that can go do field investigations.
Right, and that was Bigelow that was doing that back in the day, right?
Yep,
and I got to actually meet with Richard Lang, who was the head of that.
Yeah.
And Richard and I dialogued together.
Was Colm Kelleher there?
No, he wasn't, but Jeremy Ray was. Mm-hmm. And Jeremy Ray was trained by him, and the two of them spent time on Skinwalker. And so obviously these were the gentlemen that I was working closely with there, and they just handed me as much as they could for right now, but I will be working with them very closely in the future when I'm moving forward on my personal project, which we can talk about at some point.
I thought
right, and are you closed about what it is you want to do, and are you open? And is Brandon Fugel sounds like he's very, very supportive.
Brandon Fugel is extremely busy right now. I'm on his calendar, but we haven't really been. We tried meeting in person and it didn't work out, but we'll attempt something. At this point, anyone that wants my information is going to be able to get it. We're going to be out there within the next 6 weeks, actually, with data. So It'll be up live. People will be able to see what we're doing live. If they want to just queue into my YouTube channel, I'll have a live camera 24/7, so you guys will see what we're doing. And then all of our data is going to be public as we get it, and so it'll be sourced to the right people, but it'll be out there for everyone's scrutiny. But some of our gathering is like our what we're using to gather it is not going to be talked about, but what it yields will be talked about, and totally, if that makes any sense.
Oh, okay, so I want to just interact with you. This is not a criticism, but it's an observation.
Yes, sir.
Scientists that you might want to use that data will not accept that. They're going to want the raw data, and they're going to want all of it.
Please put me in touch with any of those scientists, sir, and I would be more than happy to give them that.
Okay,
they're welcome to it. I encourage that.
Yeah. So your own internal developments that you might want to do something with, that's different from sharing the data. That's something you've derived from the data. And so other scientists want the same opportunity to derive something from that data and go publish papers or turn them into products or whatever.
Man, that's a dream come true if that happens. So anything like that you could source for me would be fantastic. Those are relationships I would encourage.
Okay. That was great.
You're so politically correct. You should have seen him at the bar. Excuse me, sir. May I please get some water? May I please have a glass? I am
British.
May I please have a glass of water?
It's not my fault. I was raised in a British household, and that's just part of who I am. Sorry, bud. And you're Canadian, and I don't,
Viva the Commonwealth, buddy. Viva the Commonwealth. All right. My final take on the whole MUFON thing was I thought it was wonderful. I would go back again. Observations. I would say it was disappointing to see how few people 40 and under were there. There was not a lot. There was, I don't think, anybody in their 20s that was there. I think that's dangerous for MUFON. I think it shows a precedence that it's still an old boys club, if we can use that. And I think that they need some updating. They really do. And they need to, there is such discontent between the states and state directors and the board of directors, which I don't want to give too much away. I will get into it tomorrow night on the Dave 101, something that shocked me when I was there. And but overall, it was an incredible experience, and I'm glad that if I'm a one and done there, or if I'm going back, I don't know. It was well worth the experience to go there.
And day one for me, I got there before you. I was able to sneak into the end of Mark D'Antonio's presentation on training for investigators. And what a pleasure it was to see somebody talk about this through MUFON in an absolutely realistic, open-minded way. Mm-hmm. I'm so glad to see that man connected. I enjoyed his presentation, and the fact that it just showed me that they weren't just taking witness statements and disregarding them as Venus. Like, every bit of consideration is taken into every single case, and they're doing the research. They're doing the absolute right thing. There's a few gaps that I see, but again, they're open. Like, I know Mark, I have his card right here, and that is something that I would definitely, I'm going to read his book. I would definitely give him feedback. That's what he's looking for, is feedback, an interactive person with MUFON that does research. That's the kind of open-minded person you want representing that organization, and he's just one researcher.
They need new ideas. They need new social media. They haven't got into the social media world. We could go over this left, right, and center. Yeah. And that's for probably another conversation. But we'll find out.
It needs to be interactive.
It really does. It really does. They need a social media person badly. All right, let's talk a little Area 51 here, because the second part of the Dave and Tim tour took us from Denver over to Las Vegas. Now, we have to be careful with what we say here. The gentleman who asked us to come speak to him, I'm going to say, is extremely legit. Extremely legit. He showed Tim and I his IDs. There's another way that we got connected to him. I don't know where Science Bob went. His signal may have dropped. But, oh, there he is. There he is. But
lightning.
Oh, okay. Lightning. But I do want to say this, as we got about 3 minutes to go to break here. It was 100% that the person Tim and I talked to on that day, on this past Monday in Las Vegas, was 100% legit, Tim.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, scary legit. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we can't say what he did. We can't say his name. We can't say where he lives. We cannot say where he or how long he served. Because technically yeah, we'll just leave it at that. I want to be real careful here because, it's very rare you get insider information on this, but there are some things that we are allowed to talk about. The reason why we have Science Bob here is because Science Bob has been to Area 51. What's it like there?
It's a desert, and it's a high desert, and it's isolated. It's got a ring of mountains around the actual place, and now they bought the next ring, so it's really, really able to be used to hide things. So, and the government tests all sorts of things there, and I had a piece of equipment that I needed to test in a secure environment, but out in the open. And that's what Area 51 is. It's a secure environment out in the open. And so you test your equipment, and then it gets deployed by the military on the ground, in the air, underwater, whatever.
What was kind of cool, though, is getting some of these rumors confirmed. Okay, and everything the person told us, we have to be careful with the way we say it, but he did give us permission to say the stuff that, because he didn't tell us anything top secret. 100% he did not. Okay.
Well, he almost surely didn't tell you a single classified fact.
No.
Because it's illegal.
Right.
So everything he told you is unclassified.
Very true. But it's a matter from this end on, I don't want to burn the source.
No, I get it.
And you got to be careful with it. And I know people will sit there and say, oh, here's another unnamed source with an unnamed history, and you can't name them, and now we're supposed to believe this secondhand information. Ladies and gentlemen out there, I'm going to tell you, this guy is legit. And when we come back...
you brought me along. And, there's two of us.
Absolutely.
Also,
when we come back,
probably help.
When we come back, we are going to discuss what was discussed about Area 51 to Tim and I on Spaced Out Radio. I learned a lot. I know Tim did too. Science Bob looking like he needs a shot of espresso and Dirty Filth painting the cards. We'll be back right after this. Yeah, now I'm dropping. I have a computer update to do after this. I'll be right back, guys. You guys chat away.
Bob, it's a pleasure to meet you finally. And actually, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
And so I'm a bit naive to your background, and maybe that's kind of cool. Maybe I'm going to ask something that our audience is interested in too.
Sure.
And so obviously this topic is interesting from a scientist's perspective. at the possibility of a new physics that we could be seeing in our own skies here. In your perspective, what brings you to this topic, and have you had a experience yourself that you have, like maybe video or photographs of, or something that you thought was data?
So I had a cool thing. People can go to TikTok, look at my channel, and they will see orbs flying in my front yard. Okay, so there's a minute-long video that I put to eerie music. There's no commentary. There's no caption. But I will tell you what happened. I was sitting in my chair in my living room watching television. It was pretty late at night. And I felt something. But kind of my hair on the back of my neck and on my arms lifted up or whatever. It felt weird. So I says, why am I feeling something outside that wall? And I turned on my Blink camera that was over my front door, and I saw 3 orbs sitting there in a triangle formation doing this. In a triangle formation wiggling around. I says, well, that might be bugs being illuminated by the IR on the Blink camera. So I put it on long record, so it would record for as long as it could. You do that with an app. And I ran out through my carport door and went around the corner and looked, and I could see them with my own eyes. They were self-illuminated. They were not illuminated by the IR because I could see them, and my eyes are not sensitive in IR. Okay. As soon as I rounded the corner, they went poof, straight up so fast I couldn't follow them. And that did not get caught on the camera because it timed out. Okay, so I've had craft come down, blink, 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 blink. You go, oh, airplane. Well, no. Not many airplanes around Opelika, Alabama fly underneath the trees. Okay, so, and people are interested. How do I know they're interested? Dave, how do I know people are interested in what happens at my place, Dave?
Yours is becoming a hotbed.
Yes. No. How do I know that people are interested in my place? Dave knows what I'm talking about.
I'm going to use the word we, have found trail cameras set up on Bob's property where there shouldn't be trail cameras.
And they don't belong to me, and they're pointed at my house.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
We found the same thing.
Here's a Blink camera that was in the tree right out this window here in a tree and looking at the front of my house. Yeah. That camera. Okay, so anyway, and so I just know I'm being observed.
And thanks to Luscious Jules, too, for that.
Yeah. Julie Farrell and Dave found 2 trail cameras and so forth. So in addition to that...
your granddaughter found another one.
She found that one.
Right.
But it was where you said it would be, and then you told me where the other one was, and I found that one myself. Okay.
Right.
My granddaughter found this one, and she's asleep. She's asleep right up there. Okay, so anyway, I love having my grandkids. So I have people know that I have a relationship with a psychic, and we have been observed by remote viewers during our interactions. And she has the ability to see stuff, and we just knew they were. And from her description, I knew who it was and where they were.
Yeah.
Okay, so and I said something to security and told them climb off my back, and I put other things on it, and they've stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. As Bob has gone more woo.
There you go.
It works. Works for us. All right. We got about 20 seconds left here, guys.
So I guess I would follow up by saying, have you made up your mind at any point on what this potentially could be?
Well, let's hold off on Tim. Let's hold off on this. We're coming back in like 5 seconds.
Sure. Yeah, the orbs in particular.
Yeah.
But yeah, please.
Here we go. get right to it. My name is Dave Scott. Let's not waste any time on the long intro into this 30 minutes. We're going to keep going here, talking to Science Bob and Tim Senor about Area 51. So let's just say I have this person who we met this past Monday. The person asked us to meet him in Las Vegas, and that's why Tim and I went to Las Vegas after the Denver Symposium for MUFON. And we arrived on Sunday. We were going to try and hook up on Sunday to meet with this person, and we could not because our flight got in late, and by the time we got checked into our hotel, it was like almost 1 o'clock in the morning. So we had to reschedule for Monday. We had a 5-hour conversation with him. The first thing this person told us was turn off your phones. And we met him at a public restaurant, and we sat down there, and we all turned off our phones. Because he didn't want want to put them in a Faraday bag because you can't remove the battery. Airplane mode. He went in, and we shut ours completely off.
Okay. It's still, if there's something secret in it, the battery has to be disconnected.
Yeah. He didn't seem concerned about that. So
okay, fine.
The person that we talked to has spent, I think it's safe to say, Tim, and please correct me if I'm wrong, has spent over a decade there. He has flown in on the Janet jets. He showed us the terminal where it was, and could not confirm or deny the schedule, could not confirm or deny how many people were on the aircraft at any one time. And the interesting part, he did say we could say this, that the minute Janet takes off and crosses Las Vegas Boulevard, the pilots immediately turn off their signal. So that way nobody can track them. Even though everybody knows where they're going, the pilots still do that for security.
At CDW, we get that in business, the only certainty is uncertainty.
I agree. Or do I? I do, I think.
Well, an APC micro data center solution implemented by the experts at CDW provides certainty that your infrastructure will deliver the performance and support your business needs. So you're ready for anything.
I'm somewhat, maybe reasonably confident. That sounds great.
IT orchestration by CDW. People who get it. Find out more at cdw.com/APC.
I will, probably.
Now, Bob, you know a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. So ADSB is mandated on every commercial airplane that flies in the skies of the United States, and now mostly around the world. So it is a beacon, and the thing it beacons is the tail number, stuff about latitude, longitude, and velocity. So that's how you're tracked by the things they transmit. So They get GPS, they turn it into a numbers, and those numbers are transmitted by a beacon called ADSB on in the 1,000-ish megahertz range, and smaller airplanes are in the 987 megahertz frequency for small planes. Okay, so if that is on, they can be tracked. I could track an airplane with this wire antenna right here that I built myself from coax 350 kilometers from my house if I get it 10 feet above the ground.
Wow.
So that tells you how good it is. So ADSB, you want to turn off if you're going to be secret.
Right.
Because any Tom, Dick, and Harry can follow you if you have it turned on.
Right.
You have to have a radar to follow that airplane if you are going to track them. And they can detect radar. And they probably fly below radar. So and on. You get the idea. So they do all they can to avoid being tracked. So that's standard. And outside of that, I'm not going to say anything about Janet at all.
Okay. So the other stuff we learned is that every person who works at Dreamland has a special phone number on speed dial. So that way, if they are being followed by anybody, all they do is call that, and an immediate team of high-end security personnel and military personnel goes and takes out whoever's tracking them. So that was kind of cool to learn. Some other a little bit of confirmation we can do here is that I believe, we're allowed to say this, six times a day, they have to clear the runways of everything because the Russian and Chinese satellites are flying over. And sometimes they'll put decoys out there, like mats of F-18s or F-15s or weird-looking craft like X-Wing fighters or whatever. Thank you, Lala, for that second super chat. Really appreciate that. So they will do that. And sometimes what they'll do is they'll take out like winter heaters, those big round heaters, and they'll place them where the engines would be. So that way they can screw up or try to mess with the satellites looking down. Another confirmation that to a rumor that we heard is that certain people only have certain clearance there, which means, let's say you work for Lockheed and you have a special project going on. The team from Northrop or the team from Boeing or whoever else is there, their eyes will be covered up with so they can't see where they're what you're working on. And I found that very interesting. The other confirmation was, and let's get right into it, we did ask about Bob Lazar. He did say that S4 is nothing compared to what we think and what has gone through the media the last 30-plus years. Nothing. And he could not go into more detail about that. He did say that when it comes to Bob Lazar, the only thing that screws him up about Bob's story is element 115. Tim, I'm going to let you take it from there with what he said. Do you recall that?
Well, that there's more than that. And the fact that that's it's kind of common knowledge, I guess. And so it wasn't that impressive, perhaps. Yeah, I guess the part that bothers me, and I guess only reason I say that, and we can just talk about it because, I mean, that is a great question. That is a great question. And it's a tough one for me, honestly, because I've also heard from other people that I trust very much that have met him, that have been in the same room as a sample potentially of that, that goes along with his original claim. So it's really tough. It's really tough to find somebody that has kind of the opposite side of the coin to that. But please, no, back at you, Dave.
Well, I mean, I
don't
forgot
like
about
saying
that.
Things that
No.
Yeah.
He said that Bob Lazar, from people he talked to, Bob Lazar is a running joke at Area 51.
Yeah.
He is a running joke. And he did confirm that in his time there, he never, outside of seeing some very weird lights, he did say that there is nothing to do with UFOs at Area 51. Nothing. And he didn't know whether there's ever been, but he did know, or whether it's been moved, but he did know at this current time, over the last couple of decades, there has not been any spacecraft or aliens at Area 51. And the stories that he has heard from long-timers there, who, by the way, all make over six figures, they didn't trust Bob Lazar. They wonder about how Bob Lazar knew about element 115 and potential further elements that the U.S. government is working with right now, a 116, 117, 118, possibly a 119, and that he believed that Bob Lazar was most likely a disinformation agent brought out to, how did he put it, Tim?
Well, that initially that he had been on a project there, as he kind of had claimed, but basically that parts of the story are true and parts are not.
Yeah.
Which I think most of our audience would probably say they already knew. So really, it was a confirmation of things that we already knew, and I think that's great. I don't think there's really any mystery to that story, and I don't think that really, I think that Bob would probably like to backpedal on parts of it, but can't because it'll probably undermine the rest, and he knows that publicly. So, the psychology of his story is interesting, but honestly, I've never really cared that much until, I had the opportunity to meet him or to go, be friends with some of his friends and hear stories. It's interesting then.
Right.
But again, your audience should remember I'm new to this, 2019, so I didn't know who he was.
Now, we should say, due to security reasons, the person that we talked to had extremely high clearance because of his position. We cannot discuss what his position is. I think we can safely say it was a safety division. I think
all access.
All access.
Yeah,
he had the backstage passes for absolutely everything.
Yeah, and I think we could safely say that, in his opinion, it didn't even appear that they were set up for something along the lines of what the rumors about it are. And maybe Bob can back us up since he was there, but it didn't, it was more of a facility that was pretty clear and straightforward what it was all about. And nothing, the mythology of it was kind of good because they could disguise some of their tests as some of the woo, right? And as we all know publicly, pilots were really digging the fact that they could create UFO reports.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that was another interesting little nugget that he brought up again, that was
Are we allowed? Did he say we could? Yeah, because everything he told us was off the record. So I think we can tell our audience this. Apparently, this is the juice, guys. This is the juice that you are waiting for. The aircraft that they are using right now are 40 plus years ahead.
50
years ahead. And one of the things, aircraft that he described sounded exactly, and I brought this up, not him. I brought this up. Sounded exactly the way Michael Schratt describes the SR-75 scramjet, which allegedly, according to Michael, can go up to Mach 10 plus. Okay, this thing is known that when it apparently lands, it lands in only darkness. They refuel it, and then they get it right back up in the air.
And how does it go up, Dave?
Straight up. Vertically.
Quietly.
And here's the other interesting part about this. He also believed that the Aurora, he said, everybody out in UFO land, excuse me, needs to pay attention to Hollywood. For instance, in Top Gun, the brand new Top Gun, in the trailer to that, Tom Cruise is flying the Aurora.
Secret weapon.
The secret weapon, which is an Aurora aircraft. It looked exactly the way Michael Schratt had it. It looked exactly the way we all thought it looked. And you can see it in the movie. And everybody at Area 51 is laughing over that because the public has no clue that that aircraft actually exists. The other juice that I want to tell you about this is both drones, excuse me, I'm fighting here, guys. Both drones and piloted craft very frequently, he never said how often, but very frequently will test their defense systems by going on live bombing runs with weapons inactive over Los Angeles and Las Vegas, just to see how quick the fighter pilots and the radar aircraft at Nellis and other bases can react to them. And so,
and I forget, Dave, how did he respond when he was when we asked if our military was willing to test some of this against our unwilling military?
You asked that, and he said all the time.
And unknowing.
He said all the time. Where they will test out, like if they're doing a faux bombing run on downtown Las Vegas while everybody's partying and everybody's getting liquored and winning money and trying to, schmooze with the ladies or the gents, all right? If they looked up in the sky for once, they may actually see something coming in on a bombing run. And Nellis Air Force Base is right there. They should be able to scramble and figure out these craft that are in the air on these false bombing runs. Nellis doesn't know about them, and so far, the boys and girls at Area 51 are perfect in their tests on bombing runs on LA and Las Vegas. Bob, what do you think about that?
Well, look, go look at Jim Goodall's books about the old planes that are now out in the open. And you know about the F-117. So what did they test out there? Mm-hmm. They tested stealth. Mm-hmm. So the things that are doing the bombing runs are 2 or 3 generations later in stealth technology than the ones you know about. Outside of that, I am saying nothing.
We're pushing the limits here right now.
I get it. I'm not, and I'm not going to cross a top secret, blankety blank line and get in trouble.
No, we're not asking you to. We're not asking you to. The one question about stealth, I did ask about stealth, and this person did say that it's he wouldn't say what. Excuse me, but there is a chemical compound now that they are not even using stealth there anymore. Stealth is old school. The Chinese.
Well, look. There's a metamaterial. You can go Google this. There's a metamaterial that you can put on the skin of an airplane that's extremely light, adds almost no weight, and it will absorb and bend radar and not re-emit it back to the sender. Okay, so it's like think of it like a rock in a river. The river is the electromagnetic field, and the rock is in the river, and if it's slick enough, the thing goes around the rock and keeps going with laminar flow. If it's going too fast or it's the wrong frequency and so forth, then that flow will become turbulent, and boom, they're visible. Mm-hmm. So they've developed materials that will kind of bend radio waves around the aircraft. Mm-hmm. And again, that's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you anything else about it because we'll get in trouble. We don't want trouble.
No.
But look, that
what? That what? Oh, Bob got zapped by a lightning bolt.
He was saying too much.
Nah, Bob knows how to walk the line. Go ahead. We got 2 minutes.
Speaking of walking the line, Dave, I was actually curious if you wanted to cover what I asked based on that.
We took a lightning hit.
Thought so.
Oh no.
Thought so.
And the internet went out, and so I have everything here on a UPS, and the lightning hit disturbed the cable coming into the house, but nothing inside the house went off. It just was the distribution from the house went offline for a second. All right. Everything in the house was ready instantly when the internet came back. Sorry.
All right, Tim, we got 90 seconds. What were you going to say?
I was going to say, because we're kind of tiptoeing around what I asked after the question that you had just brought up, which, about do we test this stuff against our unknowing military, pilots? And he said what he said, and then I asked him if he could cite something that we could point to as an example of that, and he said a very important thing that was kind of a biggie. Are you willing to drop that bomb as the big example that he pointed to when
you got 1 minute, dude? Don't surround yourself with it. Just go for it. It's on you.
What do you mean? No,
yeah, but you can't play this game. You just let us on. You got to do it now.
I'm just saying, do you remember what example he used?
No.
Okay, I don't either.
Well, why bring it up and tease us?
Because I was hoping that you would remember.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay. All right, no, I do remember, but...
Just say it. You got 30 seconds. You can't tease the audience like that.
All right, well, shoot. If you're thinking I can say it, right? Well, he used Commander Fravor's experience, and he explained why he could cite, the fact that there were a few data points that led him to believe that, not only knowing what we have capabilities of, things that tend to stop on a dime that would turn us into a liquid, aren't manned, but that doesn't mean they're not ours, right?
Right.
But it's when you see things that are, made of light, that's breaching into things that aren't ours. So he's not saying that everything isn't ours, obviously.
Right.
But what he was saying was things that are a little more nuts and bolts that you can see lights on and tend to strobe. Those things, as unbelievable as they may seem, are unmanned, but probably ours, right?
And on that note,
so, of course,
sorry, we're done now. Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Science Bob. Thank you to our great audience hanging on out tonight. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight on YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. We do really appreciate you tuning us all in, so thank you so much.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
Don't make a mistake. We're watching.
we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night.
One more rep.
You know that feeling you get when things just magically work?
Like when my 300 gyms get restocked ahead of schedule?
Bingo! Your equipment supplier has Salesforce Customer 360. It unites teams around gym owners like you for wow moments like
when new weights come in my custom shade of blue.
And those gym towels you like?
So plush, so thick.
With just one click.
Wow.
See how uniting your teams can help you wow customers at salesforce.com/customer 360.
You walk around all day wondering important things like what could possibly be better than 10 Chicken McNuggets from McDonald's? 10 of those made with all white meat chicken wonders. Then when you go to order them on the McDonald's app, you discover a 10-piece Chicken McNuggets is just $2. That's so amazing, you had to read it again. Really? A 10-piece Chicken McNuggets is just $2 on the app? You realize, now that is better. Offer good through December 31st, 2022 at participating McDonald's. Valid one time per day. App download and registration required.